Hi guys, and welcome back to I Speak English. Before we start, I have a question for you. So you know the word cake. This is a cake. We all know what a cake is. But do you know what it means to be caked in something? Or why native speakers use the word butter up or cherry pick or chew over even though nobody's actually eating anything? Well, if you're aiming for C1 or C2 and you need to pass that exam, this is exactly the kind of vocabulary that kind of separates good English from native English. And in this video, I'm going to show you food words that native speakers use that actually have nothing to do with food, but they use them all the time in conversation. And I'm going to show you how to use them naturally, also for exams as well, and in real conversation. So if you want your English to sound less textbooky and more real, stick with me here because this vocabulary is absolutely everywhere. But before we take a look at our vocabulary, please do make sure that you are subscribed to the channel. I upload videos every week, long form content, and you get shorts every single day. So make sure that you don't miss a video with me. Hit the subscribe button there. And give this video a like if you learned something new today. Right, we're going to get started. So as I said in the introduction there, today we're going to be taking a look at some Cambridge vocabulary for C1 and C2 level about food, or food words that aren't actually used to describe food. So there are going to be a few phrasal verbs, mostly verbs. We're going to be looking at a couple of phrasal verbs in there as well. So the first one I asked you about was to be caked in, if you knew what this was. So no, this has absolutely nothing to do with cake. I'll give you an example. Let's see if you can kind of figure out what the meaning is from this example here. So if I said her face was caked in makeup after the photo shoot, what do you think that means, to be caked in makeup? Have a think. Write it down in the comments if you want. Your face is caked in makeup. It's kind of completely covered in something very thick and heavy. So let's say you apply multiple layers of foundation, lots of mascara. It looks really heavy on your face. You're caked in makeup, kind of like this. Okay, not the best way. You can see that it's applied very thick layers, very heavy. So this person is caked in makeup here. And we also use caked in to talk about other substances, not only makeup, but also you could, for example, say that you're caked in mud. Okay, so I was caked in mud after the hike. So we tend to collocate it with like thicker substances like mud, dirt, blood even, makeup as well. So if you're absolutely covered in something really thick and heavy, you're caked in that thing. Okay, so that's our first one, to be caked in. By the way, if you want to practice any of the words that you learned today, write me a little comment. Write a phrase in the comments using this new vocabulary, just to have a little practice, and then I'll correct you as well. Because it's the practice that kind of takes most of the effort, you know. It's easy to learn stuff passively, but actively using it can be a bit tricky sometimes. So just leave me a little comment there, and I'll correct you if you need it. Meanwhile, we're going to go on to our second word, which is to sugarcoat something. Okay, have a think. Have you ever seen this word before, sugarcoat? Coat something in sugar? It's not that literal. If I give you the example, okay, I won't sugarcoat it. The C1 exam is extremely demanding. What am I doing if I'm not sugarcoating something? What do you think? I am trying to make something unpleasant sound more positive. That's what you're doing if you sugarcoat something. Often we use this in a kind of negative way. We often say, don't sugarcoat it, or I won't sugarcoat it. And we often use it with it as well, rather than like a specific word. Some common collocations, words that we tend to collocate with it, are like the truth. You would sugarcoat the truth or not sugarcoat it. reality, bad news. So we often use this for bad news. For example, I've got some bad news, but I won't sugarcoat. And like I said, it's often used in a negative way. Okay, so don't do this or you won't do that. Right. So that's sugarcoat, that's our second one. Before we move to our third one, I just want to remind you that I do have a podcast which contains lots of vocabulary like this, but in a more kind of natural setting. So I talk about different issues, different topics, and it includes tons of kind of native level vocabulary. I don't slow down my speech much either, so it's really good for kind of listening skills. And it's great for C1 and C2 listening as well. Obviously I speak in British English because I am British, and there's also a free transcript and vocabulary list with every episode as well. I'll put the link up there, you can save that for later if you're interested in having more long form content. Episodes are about 40 minutes to an hour, so you can just put that on while you're in the car or something and listen to it in the background. So that's there if you're interested. We're going to move on and we're going to look at to milk. Okay, so to milk, quite obviously, you literally milk a cow, but there's another way to use it. Often a more common way to use it, if you're not in the farming industry or something like that, is, for example, let me give you this sentence here. So the media milked the scandal for weeks. Okay, what do you think that means? What is the media doing if they're milking something? Media milked the scandal for weeks. It's kind of connected to the, you're getting something out of something else, And so if you milk something, you basically exploit something for your personal benefit. So you're trying to get as much kind of advantages or benefits from something as you can. But it's normally from like a negative situation or something bad that's happened, and you're kind of playing on people's sympathy for you, that they will keep like giving you stuff because you're in a bad situation. It's quite difficult to explain to milk. I'll give you another example. I know he got sick, but he's definitely milking it now. So let's say the guy, whoever it is, got sick. He got a few days off work because he didn't feel well, but then you kind of pretend to keep being sick so you can get more days off work, or so that people feel sorry for you and, I don't know, make you some soup or do something nice for you. So you're milking it. You're drawing out the bad situation in order to keep getting benefits from it. All right. Collocations that often go with to milk something. You would milk an opportunity to try and get the most out of an opportunity. Milk a situation, like I already said, normally a negative situation or something bad that's happened. And you would milk, people's sympathy for you, basically. So any situation that's negative that you're trying to get benefits from and prolong in order to get the benefits, you're milking that situation. Very, very common word to use. Definitely in British English. Not sure how common it is in American English, but if there's anyone American watching, let me know if it's common. We're going to head on to stew over. Okay, if you don't know what stew is, this is stew. Very typical kind of British dish and Irish dish. So stew is just like a bunch of meat and vegetables that's been kind of boiled or simmered over a long time. Okay, so you kind of leave it for hours and hours and then it eventually kind of melts together. But stew over has nothing to do with stew. Okay, no connection. Well, maybe a little bit of connection if we're talking about the length of time you do something. Again, let me give you an example and we'll see if you can figure it out from that. So she spent weeks stewing over what he said. Okay, what do you think she's doing if she's stewing over what he said? She is worrying or thinking about something kind of obsessively over a long period of time. So again, it's very continuous, very long period of time. Like you would stew meat, you kind of leave it for a long period of time to keep going and keep going. And that's what you're doing in your head. You're stewing over normally something that you're worried about, or again, maybe a bit of a negative situation. Okay. I'll give you another example of stew over. Okay. Don't talk to the boss. He's stewing over this quarter's dismal sales. All right. So you normally stew over a problem. You'd stew over a mistake or some kind of comment that somebody's made. Okay. Again, usually negative things you would stew over because you're just going over and over in your mind about it. All right, our next one is to cherry pick. This is another super common one. Again, nothing to do with cherries, or you are kind of picking stuff, but not cherries. Okay. I'll give you an example. So the report cherry-picked statistics to support its argument. Okay, so if you're just cherry-picking statistics from somewhere, you are picking normally the best things. So you've got a whole group and you're just picking the best things from that group. Again, it's normally used to kind of try and prove a point or support an opinion that you've got, or to again give yourself some kind of advantage or benefit. You think, oh, I'll pick that one because it's the best one, and then I'll pick that one because it's a better one, rather than having like the whole group or the whole argument, let's say. I'll give you another example. Okay, so they are cherry picking data to try and prove a point, like I said to you before. Trying to prove something, so you just pick the things that support your argument the best. Even if it's not logical, even if you saw like the whole data set, and you cherry picking thing doesn't actually make any sense or prove anything, you do it anyway, just to make yourself look good or kind of prove an argument. We often collocate to cherry pick with data, evidence, examples, results. So it's normally information that you could perhaps cherry pick people as well. If you've got a group of people and you're thinking, oh, I'll choose that guy there and that woman there, and they'll get me the most advantages from whatever it is that you do. If this vocabulary has been useful for you and you've learned some new words and you want to continue learning more words, I do have some flashcards in the description. They're for C2 level. Even if you're C1 level, they might be useful anyway, but definitely good for C2. About 200 words on there. There's lots of collocations on there as well. Phrasal verbs, idioms, but a lot of kind of more proficient vocabulary, useful for everyday use, and also there's some formal stuff in there as well. If you want the descriptions if you want the link is in the description, you can download it there for free. I'll also put a link up here as well. Save it for later, and you can just kind of go through that in your own time and build some vocabulary. As you know, vocabulary is kind of the main barrier, let's say, to passing that C2 exam, because you need a lot of it. So go download that, and that should help you there if you want to carry on learning. Meanwhile, we're going to head on to roast. Okay, to roast somebody. So normally you would roast something, i.e. like a joint of beef or something, usually meat. Whatever you put in the oven, you would roast. But if you roast somebody, for example, the film was roasted by the critics, it means that you are criticising that thing or person quite harshly and publicly often as well. Okay? So it's not just to criticise, it's to criticise very badly, very harshly, and in a public setting. Now you might see a lot of kind of YouTube videos with like Roast My English or something like that. That's quite a good channel actually, Roast My English, which is like criticize my English, or so-and-so roasts this other person, and it will show you like a video of someone just completely trashing another person. So you probably see it on YouTube, it's quite common. I'll give you another example. Ricky Gervais, the famous British comedian, Ricky Gervais roasted celebrities at the Golden Globes. Very funny video. I would recommend searching for this, search Ricky Gervais and Golden Globes and you can see him just absolutely tear apart a room full of actors. It's hilarious. So yes, we normally roast a person, or you'd roast someone's performance as well. They're the two things that we tend to use this with, or collocate with. Don't forget to leave me some comments as well using all this vocabulary so that you can give it a quick practice. We're going to head on to spice up. Okay, so we've got some different spices here. Again, nothing to do with spice. Absolutely nothing. If we take a look at an example, she added a few anecdotes to spice up her presentation. What do you think she's doing to her presentation if she spices it up by using some anecdotes? What do you think? She is making it more interesting or possibly more exciting as well. Spice it up a bit. We also say jazz something up as well, and it has the same meaning. I feel like jazz something up is only to make it more interesting. I feel like spice up is a lot more like with exciting rather than interesting. I'll give you another example. It was one of those articles on how to spice up your sex life. Yes, we often use this with like relationships or sex as well, to make it like more exciting or more, different or interesting. Other things we collocate with it, a story. Spice up a story. If it's boring, you try to, change it somehow. A relationship, like I just said, a speech. You can spice up anything really if you just make it more interesting, more exciting. Right. Okay, moving on to spoon feed. Okay, this is very literal. You spoon feed a child. You would literally feed a child. To use this in a sentence, we would say, the course doesn't spoon feed students. You're expected to think critically. Okay. So if spoon feeding is literally, helping you eat while you sit there and do nothing, what do you think it means if you spoon feed someone, students, in a different context, for example? What do you reckon? You spoon feed someone, you normally give them information in a very simplified or dumbed down way, and in a passive way as well. So the person receiving the information doesn't really have to make an effort or do anything. So you're putting all the effort in if you're spoon feeding someone. Again, like a child. They're very passive, they don't have to do anything. You're just giving information. And there's not really like any common collocations with it, because you always spoon feed a person something, usually information. Okay, so you'd always need a person after the word spoon feed. Okay, he spoon fed him XYZ. So we're going to move on to our next one, which is to mince. Okay. So to mince, this is mince. So if you normally, if you mince something, you would mince meat, i.e. cut it up into pieces like this, so it makes mince. To use it in another context, for example, you could say he didn't mince his words when criticizing the policy. Okay. If you're not mincing your words, what are you doing? Again, nothing to do with mince. Ignore the photo. It's just there to distract you. If you don't mince your words, or if you do mince your words, you would soften the way you say something to not offend somebody. Okay. But normally we would use this in negative and say he doesn't mince his words, or don't mince your words, meaning, just be honest and say it as it is, rather than trying to, say it in a really nice, polite way. Okay. And there's not really any other collocations. We often use this pretty much all the time with mince your words or don't mince your words. We don't really use it for anything else, to be honest, that I can think of. If you can think of anything, or if you find anything else, let me know if there's another meaning to mince, but I'm not sure there is. We're going to head on to our other one, which is to swallow. Okay, meaning when you put something in your mouth and then it goes down your throat, you would swallow that thing, like a pill, for example. But this, again, it doesn't mean to literally swallow something. Now let's look at an example here. He refused to swallow the official explanation. Okay, what do you think that means? He refused to swallow the explanation. He refused to accept the explanation or believe the explanation. So if you swallow something, you believe it, usually. Actually, there's two meanings. You could either believe something or accept something unwillingly. For example, he swallowed the truth. Often we use this with truth. We would collocate it with the word truth. He swallowed the truth about the affair, for example. So you can use it that way, to unwillingly accept something, or you can use it in another way. For example, she swallowed the lie easily, meaning you accept something without questioning it at all. So it can mean two different things: accept it unwillingly or accept something without questioning it also. So yeah, often we use it with lie or the truth. And this photo here, we do actually have an expression. It's a difficult pill to swallow, which means it's a difficult truth to accept. So there's an extra idiom for you there. I think I've got an example sentence for you here with that idiom. Yes, his failure was a hard pill to swallow, for example. Okay, so it's difficult to accept. So again, things we collocate it with: lies, an excuse. You would swallow your pride. Yeah, you can do that as well. If you swallow your pride, you more, kind of accept failure. It's like you have to just accept that it's not going to work, or you're not as good as you think you are at something. So you swallow your pride that way. Swallow a story, again, if you believe it. Swallow the truth if you accept truth. Right, so there you go. There are your words about food that aren't about food. Again, if you want to continue learning some more vocabulary, make sure to download the flashcards in the description. And if you learned something new today, please do give this video a like and subscribe to the channel as well. It just helps it to reach more people so that they can prepare for their Cambridge exams as well. If you've got any questions, please just leave me a comment and I'll get back to you when I can. And if you're interested in taking a lesson with me, you can go to www.englishclassesonline.co.uk. and you can find all my lessons and video courses there, and I'll be glad to help you prepare for your Cambridge exam. Alright, so that's all from me for today, and I'll see you in another lesson soon.